This it is the biggest test of the year for the global art market. 2,000 pieces totaling between $1.5 and $2 billion set to be auctioned off by Sotheby's, Christie's, and Phillips in New York this week. The big question, as we just mentioned, will the trade war, the market swings, and the China slowdown scare away the big bidders?
And Uber.
And Uber, exactly.
Everyone lost their money on Uber.
That's right. Now, China, this is interesting, is the second biggest art market in the world, accounting for 29% of global auction sales. Last year, 6 of the top 20 works sold by Sotheby's went to Asian buyers. So there is a lot riding on China this week in the art market. Now, most of the top trophies come from estate sales. The estate of Cy Newhouse, the former Condé Nast chief, is selling the top lot of the week. It's Jeff Koons' 1986 rabbit sculpture. It's considered Koons' masterpiece. It remains highly controversial. Koons made 4 of them. This is the last in private hands, and it's expected to sell for between $50 and $70 million at Christie's.
Wow.
That was such a shocker when Jeff first exhibited in 1986. People were thinking he's out of his mind. People called it outer-worldly, alien, awful, everything. So it was a really radical sculpture.
Christie's also selling a Robert Rauschenberg titled Buffalo 2, once owned by Beatrice Meyer. She's an heiress to the Sara Lee fortune. That could fetch up to $70 million as well. And Sotheby's will sell one of Monet's famous grain stack paintings for over $55 million.
That I can appreciate. But
so we were talking about private markets versus public markets. Do these guys know something?
Look,
the rest of us don't. Well,
obviously art is like Bitcoin, totally unregulated. But these pieces, the Rauschenberg sold for $16,900 in the 1960s. That rabbit sculpture, Cy Newhouse bought it in 1992 for $1 million. Wow. People thought he was crazy back then, now going for up to 70. So these special works can appreciate a lot.
Let me just ask, if Asian buyers are the biggest buyers, I know in the United States, our stock market often tracks what people are willing to pay for art. Does the Asian stock market, do the Chinese markets track at all what some of the Asian buyers are willing to pay, or are they mostly invested in other markets?
Not as much. That's still a bit like the sort of gambling lottery there. But what's interesting about China is they are building up to 1,000 museums a year in China. So there is endless amounts of demand for art. Now, they are less present in the New York auction scene than they are in Hong Kong and London, those auctions. Especially with contemporary art, they're more interested. Now, this Monet, that will be a lot of Chinese buyers on that.
Just trying to figure out how you get a picture of that rabbit without having the photographer in the reflection.
Yeah, you can't. It is a very cool piece. You see yourself 3 different times. You see yourself in the head and the stomach.
They can't get a shot of that without seeing the guy set up with his camera and everything.
It's only 3 feet tall.
It's really kind of cool.
It is very cool.
$70 million cool, tall?
It looks just like a balloon.
I know. It looks like Macy's Day.
And his balloon dogs, which of course became even more famous, those sold for close to $60 million. So we'll see.